The following podcast contains spoilers for Marrowbone. Glenn,
Yes?
don't look in that mirror.
You know how hard that is for me, Mike?
You're gorgeous, but stop.
I'm just so egotistical, I have to look at myself.
Well, you have been warned.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of KFR News Radio. This is your host, Glenjamin Button, along with your host, Miguel.
I don't know why. That noise broke me.
If that was in video form, oh my god, that would have been haunting looking.
Oh, it was. I mean, I imagine that with you right in my ear.
Oh, I was deep in the mic, my face was shaking, and it just went...
Oh,
I
man.
couldn't even replicate it.
Don't tease me, Glenn. Don't tease me.
Then how will I live on?
That's a good question. How are you doing?
My sweet prince, I'm doing just pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing okay. You know, last week you threw a curveball my way and made me talk about the movies I watched first. And you know what?
I did.
I'm going to do it again this week because you don't
Is this what my
control
curveball
me.
tastes like? That tastes
You
weird.
don't control me, Glenn. So this week, this past week was the beginning of the NHL playoffs after they went on break because of the pandemic. So I've been watching a shit ton of hockey and not too many movies. With that being said, what I watched is still way more movies than most people would watch in a week. I watched 4, including Marrowbone.
Okay.
The first one is Alfred Hitchcock's The Lady Vanishes, which was released in 1938. It's about this young woman who has a piece of luggage fall on her head as she's boarding a train, and then this older woman kind of takes care of her. But then when she wakes up from a nap, that woman is vanished. Hence,
What the hell?
The Lady Vanishes. And this one, I would say probably only about 45 minutes to maybe generously an hour was the actual plot. The rest of it was just kind of, I don't want to say slapstick, but it was a comedy that had all the characters be introduced in a way. Because it was really funny. Like, it was funnier than you think it would be.
Yeah.
For an Alfred Hitchcock movie. He's got a great dark sense of humor, but in this it also showed his, great not so dark sense of humor, even though parts of it were dark. But yeah, that's The Lady Vanishes. I do suggest that.
Okay.
Then I watched a Canadian movie about hockey because I've been on a hockey kick since the NHL playoffs have started.
As you should be.
As I should be, called Indian Horse. It is about a Native American boy, or I guess Native Canadian. I think they call them First Nations people in Canada.
Yeah.
And he becomes an orphan, and a big thing in Canada up until like ridiculously recently, the Canadian government took First Nations children away from their parents and schooled them in Catholic schools. And we all know how Catholic schools are, so they're not exactly the best locations for things. And then he kind of falls in love with hockey, so it's kind of his journey being a First Nations person playing hockey relatively successfully. And it just goes from there. It's a pretty good movie. I think it ended too quickly. It kind of just dove into the end. If you see it, you'll kind of understand what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I don't want to give too much away, but it's just like it's going in one trajectory, and you see, oh, there's only 15 minutes left. What are they going to do? And then it's just like, oh, nope, this all happens.
Yeah, really. How long was the movie?
Hour 45, hour 50.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's not so much about hockey as it is, him in the orphanage.
Yeah.
But it's sold as a hockey movie, which is understandable. Yeah, it's pretty good, but it did leave some things desired.
The ending was just too quick.
Yes, it was. And then I watched today a independent comedy called Diani and Divine Meet the Apocalypse. It's about a comedy duo in Los Angeles when the apocalypse hits, and just kind of them surviving through it. And honestly, it's the most accurate representation of what a modern apocalypse would be. Like most people just kind of sitting around waiting for things to get back to normal, slowly realizing they're not going to go back to normal, and then just politely stealing cars in a way. It was actually really funny. It was really dry humor. Deani and Divine, they directed it as well. They're a real comedy troupe. In the movie, they play a couple. I don't know if they're a couple in real life, but yeah, it was surprisingly good. You know, it's a good way to waste an hour and 30 minutes.
Okay.
So that's all I watched this week.
A lot of apocalypse movies lately.
Yeah.
That's all right though. 2020. Why
2020. Yep.
For me, I've only watched 2 movies, obviously, including Marrowbone. And then I watched a show, which I will get into in a minute. But the movie that I watched besides Marrowbone was definitely Maybe. It was a rewatch. It's got Ryan Reynolds. It's a rom-com. It's about he's telling a story to his daughter about how he met her mother, and he just lists the 3 main loves of his life, and she has to kind of guess which one is her mother. I kind of love this movie. I'm not gonna lie. It's one of my favorite rom-coms.
Is Abigail Breslin his daughter in that?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I remember that then.
Yeah, it's for sure one of my favorite rom-coms, and I was like, you know what, dude, I miss Ryan Reynolds. I need to see his face, and so I watched it, and I still love it. It's still a fantastic movie.
Cool.
It's a little bit too romantic, but it is.
Ew, romance.
Romance is disgusting.
Yucky.
And then this is one we're all gonna cringe over. I've been watching. I'm rewatching at least the first season of it, and then actually watching the whole show. Is Attack on Titan. Mm-hmm. It's an anime. Everybody's super hype over it. They love the shit out of it. I was like, okay. The first season I watched, and then I stopped watching because I was like, okay, this is a lot happening. So I'm rewatching it. It's really good, actually. The next 2 seasons, it's fun. It's a lot going on, but I won't get too deep into it, considering I don't want to weeb anybody out here, Michael.
Weeb.
I don't want to weeb anybody.
I am convinced that weebs are 100% the reason we keep getting invasive species in Pennsylvania. Because first it was stink bugs, which came from East Asia. Mm-hmm. I don't know if they're from Korea or Japan. But then we got spotted lanternflies from Japan. Stop ordering body pillows from Japan, Glenn.
I can't stop. It's an addiction.
I'm tired.
I saw one of those murder wasps
species.
yesterday. That was scary.
Really? Because I'm pretty sure they haven't come anywhere.
I saw
here.
one of those big fucking wasps yesterday. It was scary.
We have big wasps here, but
this thing was bigger than a quarter. It was insane.
Oh, murder wasps are like 3 inches long.
Oh dear Christ, and a half.
Yeah. So you did not. If you're comparing it to a quarter, you did not see a murder wasp.
I definitely saw a bald eagle in the form of a bee. Flying down upon me to take my bones.
But yeah, the whole murder wasp thing, everyone's like, what happened to them? It's because they found a dead one.
Yeah.
And then more than likely the biologist that found the nest and then killed them, or it was just never a live one.
Interesting.
Yeah. I watched a lot of videos on it when it came out. So yeah. I'd be surprised if you saw a murder wasp, but you know what? That wasp still could have murdered you, Glenn.
Honestly, I ran like a little girl.
I would have as well.
Or a regular girl.
Or a regular girl.
Just
or a man.
Or a man. Exactly.
Hey, Glenn, men can be scared too.
I admit this, that I am
and
a scared boy.
And more often than not, women are not as scared as men because we're little bitches.
Unbelievable. So yeah, I guess that's moving on to movie news, right?
Yeah, you got some news. I got some news.
Well, I'll tell you something.
What?
Not really much going on this week.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of talks about the new Tron movie. That's I don't know when it's actually coming out, but they're talking about it. Mm-hmm. It's actually not going to be a direct sequel from the last one, Tron Legacy, but it's also not going to be. So Where that's going to go is beyond me.
Are they creating a cinematic universe, Glenn?
At this point, everybody is. So
I'm so tired of cinematic universes, Glenn.
So I guess the director, Garth Davis, had spoken about how there was a plan for like a sequel directly after The Legacy, but then I guess Jared Leto, I should have read deeper into this, but Jared Leto said it wasn't actually going to be a direct sequel as much as more dedicated to the first one. So it's very interesting how it's going to go, actually.
Interesting.
But basically, what I'm getting at is it's not what you're going to expect, because I don't even know what to expect from it. But Garth Davis is going to be directing it, and Jared Leto is going to be starring in it. I'm pretty sure he was in Legacy, correct?
I don't recall him being in Legacy.
Unless I'm thinking of Blade Runner. That's why. Damn, those futuristic movies.
He's in Blade Runner 2049.
Okay, well,
But
we shall see. I'm not really much of a fan of Jared Leto anymore.
yeah, honestly, he lost a lot of respect for me when how he treated his castmates.
Yeah.
On Suicide Squad. Like, there's method acting. That's not method acting. That's just harassing. Like, you doing that does not benefit you at all. It's the same thing as when Dustin Hoffman would pinch his co-stars' butts to get them angry at him because he doesn't trust them to get angry at him, because apparently Dustin Hoffman's the only one who can act. It's the exact same thing. It's not method acting. It's harassment. That's exactly what it is. Like, it is what it is. But they like to say it's method acting. Yeah.
So whether Garrett Hedlund and Olivia Wilde are going to be in this sequel, or even Jeff Bridges, is beyond me. We're not there yet. They're not even there yet. They're just in talks about it. So we shall see.
Yeah.
There's my news.
That's your news. My news should come to no surprise to anyone. Disney has announced that they are going to retire the 20th Century Fox brand. And I don't know if they're just never going to make a 20th century thing anymore, or like they're all going to be Disney. Either way, it comes to no surprise. They bought 20th Century Fox and Fox in general. They now own The Simpsons and shit like that. So yeah, I'm not sure how they're going to.
I wish they would kind of just let it be still. I mean,
yeah. I don't know how they're going to brand like the new Simpsons movie coming out, because it'd be weird seeing the Simpsons movie with a Disney intro.
Yeah.
And honestly, like, if they do that, it gets rid of any chance of them doing more, I don't want to say more adult stuff, but not so family-friendly stuff. Like, I mean, yeah, they have Marvel, but that's only for Marvel stuff. Other than that, they used to have Touchstone. I don't know if Touchstone's still a thing. But we'll see. I
mean, I'd like, I get it. But it's nice to see a mark that's there besides Disney.
Yeah, definitely.
So, I mean, it is what it is.
It is what it is. But that is all the news for this week. Let's jump into Marrowbone.
We have come very far, enduring many hardships. But at last, we found the place where we can be safe.
These Marrowbone kids, how well do you know them?
It's just that they worry me, always hiding away from the community.
They're not hiding. They live too far away. Get close together, come on. What are we going to do?
I don't know, but if the truth comes out, they will separate us.
Good luck, Mr. Marrowbone.
Written and directed by Sergio G. Sanchez, starring George McKay, Anya Taylor-Joy, Charles Heaton, and Mia Goth. Marrowbone is about a young man and his three younger siblings who have kept secret the death of their beloved mother in order to remain together, and they are plagued by a sinister presence in the sprawling manor in which they live. Did you hear how smooth that was, Glenn?
Don't get me started.
That was like milk chocolate smooth right there.
I said, don't get me started.
But yeah, that was on Hulu for those of you. If you haven't watched it, if you want to just give this podcast a pause and check it out on Hulu before moving forward. Sergio G. Sanchez is the writer of a few J.A. Boyana films, such as The Impossible and The Orphanage. I believe this is his first feature. If not, it's one of his first features. He did a TV movie before this, and then everything else has been a short, and then so this is his first theatrical feature. And it kind of reminded me a lot of The Orphan in a way, just by like tone and the fact that it's a period piece definitely kind of puts you in that mindset too. Of El Orfantino, and it's got a great cast too. I mean, everyone here is either a well-known horror actor with Anya Taylor-Joy, Mia Goth, Charlie Heaton, if you want to include Stranger Things, and then the unreleased The New Mutants, which will be released movie, eventually. And then George McKay, I don't know if he's been in horror, but he's a great actor. He's in 1917, Captain Fantastic, Peter Pan, a movie called Pride, which is really good. He's not so much a horror actor, but he's a great actor. He's a even though he's only 28, I think.
Definitely up and coming, but super enjoyable man.
Oh yeah, he's great.
Whatever.
But what did you think of this? I'm always curious to see what you think of the movies I pick before anything else.
So trying to figure out how to word this. I should have thought about how to word this before, but I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, listen, I enjoyed this movie. How do I explain how I enjoyed it? So you've got this whole family, and it's pretty cool because they're all fantastic actors. They're all there. They're all blood, and they're all letting you know, like, we're in this together. We can't, nobody's gonna get us, and like you're there. And then Jack starts doing some things that could get everybody in trouble. But guess what? Mama Bear died. So like, how old was Jack? Right?
Jack, well, he had to be at least, she said to
at least 21.
Just keep him, at least 21. My guess is that he was either like 17 or 18, maybe even like 19.
Yeah.
At this point in the film, he's I mean, regardless, he's pretty young. The actor's not young, but the character is young to the point where lying about her death is going to keep them together. He's not old enough to be their legal guardians, but I don't think they ever say how old he is.
So you're put, me specifically, you're put in this position where you see this family, basically they're kind of on the run away from something bad. You aren't really explained what it is, and you're like, okay, well, obviously that'll pop up eventually. And then the mom is sick, and then she dies, and then she's telling Jack, the oldest son, that he can't really, out them until he's 21, until he can become a legal guardian of these kids. Which all of them are pretty much teenagers except for one, so couldn't be too long. You weren't given an age, and I thought, okay, that's a lot for a young lad, but I get it. So you're sitting there with that plot, and then it finally unfolds a little bit later. You're finally like, okay, they're actually doing it. They're being a family. They're doing it. Congratulations, Jack. You're about to be a daddy. It's like, no, you're not in like a literal form, but. And then finally the plot's unfolding, and that was the cool part, because a little bit you're sitting there like, not really dreading it, but it's cool. But you just want to know what's going on, and finally you get it right. Fucking Papa was a really bad dude. He had blood money.
He was a serial killer.
He wanted that shit back. So you know what? He tried to get it back. That's
I thought
so. Definitely, that world building was really cool as far as that went. But you didn't learn about that last part until like the last half hour or so.
Yeah, I was actually kind of concerned in the first 10, 15 minutes because it did not feel like the kind of movie we were sold in the trailer at all. which was kind of brilliant in a way. It put you in this false sense of security. And then, you know, you see a man, from Mia Goth's perspective, you see a man in their vast yard that just leads straight up to a forest, and he fires a gun, and she screams, she calls for Jack. All of a sudden, it's 6 months later. Like, what the fuck happened?
Yeah.
I loved that's how it started. Like, especially after being worried about it being kind of a cheesy, campy, New Beginnings film.
Yeah.
Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it just wasn't what I was expecting.
Yeah, it was definitely that, and leading up to it trying to look horror-esque with the spooky hallways, the mirrors, and stuff like that. It was definitely leading up to that, but didn't go there the way you thought it would.
Yeah, definitely. And it's really told in kind of an ingenious way, where it skips forward 6 months. A lot of the times people don't really care for that. The whole 6 months later title card. This really needed that just so you could kind of know exactly when in the timeline we are. And it was just like it's the first time that I've ever seen a time jump used in such an efficient and impactful way, where if it wasn't for that time jump, the movie is not nearly as good. It kind of, in a way, it's kind of like, you know, kind of like The Sixth Sense, where they kind of abandon the opening story and you're just left the whole time to wonder what happened.
Yeah.
Where as in The Sixth Sense, once you know what's happening, it's extremely obvious. Like, once you know Bruce Willis is dead, it's extremely obvious that he's dead the whole time. I don't know if rewatching this, it'll be obvious that, you know, we said spoiler alert before, that 3 of the 4 kids are dead.
Yeah.
And it's only Jack that's still alive. I don't know if that would be so obvious. Which
Well, let me explain something to you real quick.
Oh, explain away.
It's really hypnotic when you miss that title card like I did. And you're watching the whole movie not knowing it's 6 months later. Like, I missed it at first, and then I went back and I think I went down to go get some food or something, and I came back up. I was like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah. And it's crazy because, like, the way it's told, you know, it jumps 6 months later. All of a sudden, they're talking about a ghost in the house, but they're talking very casually about it. Like, you know, it's not a big deal, and it's not a thing. But the little kid obviously knows something's up. And it just creates this tension, and then it just continues like nothing happened, and like they're going through their normal lives. Which, when you learn that everything is from Jack's perspective, is brilliant, because, you know, he's trying to ignore the atrocity that happened in the attic, and it really becomes this beautiful story in a way of grief and how people grieve. I know it's probably more than definitely not an accurate representation of multiple personality syndrome. That's not to say that this kind of, or the version of it that's created by trauma, has never happened.
Yeah.
But, you know, him kind of taking on all 4 roles just to cope with the fact that he wasn't able to protect his family very shortly after their mother died.
Yeah, it was definitely a lot crazier when you like look back on after the 6 months mark and you see that the only person interacting with anybody was just Jack and nobody else was doing anything. That was a really cool
but
cool
they make it make sense. So like if you're not looking for it, it makes sense. It's not like The Sixth Sense where Bruce Willis is walking around a city and no one is responding to him. Not that Sixth Sense is not an impactful movie. I still love that movie. I still think it holds weight even after you already know it. But like, they keep to the house and are always in like different rooms, and you know, when someone is over at the house, it just makes it seem like they're hiding. It's not so much that they're not being seen at all. It's, you know, they have different roles to fulfill. It just leads to such a heart-wrenching ending when you finally learn what happened. The one thing I don't know how you felt about Anya Taylor-Joy's role in this.
Yeah.
I felt like it started off really kind of cheesy, like the whole movie.
Yeah.
And then ended really cheesy, like the whole movie. Well, the movie doesn't end cheesy, but her character kind of ends in a cheesy, slightly unbelievable way. And I don't know if so much of that's the writing or just her performance.
Definitely at the end of the movie didn't have any sort of trauma from any of this.
Yeah.
I mean, let's talk about it. So we got entered in a cheesy way. This family rolls up on this chick, and Sam's just like, "You've got acorns." That's obviously not how it went, but and they all have like a day together, and that's kind of how they meet. And it was really cool. Whatever.
Yeah.
And then
cheesy, but
yeah, and then
going with the tone of the film.
Yeah, and then Jack, kind of like, I guess technically, secretly, not so secret, but also secretly has a relationship with her.
Yeah.
But it's also understandable why it's secret, because everybody's now dead throughout the 6 months. Mm-hmm. And he obviously didn't tell her, and nor tell his family because they're dead. So you got that whole, and then the ending, she sees this man who is trying to, flirt with her a lot at work, stabbed in the goddamn neck. She's like, "Tom, just let me see the wound, please." She sees right before that, she sees all the kids dead on the floor from, their father brutally murdering them 6 months ago. Mm-hmm. And then she's just like, "Well, I better cover these guys up." And she walks over to Tom, whose neck is just spewing blood. And she's like, "Well, Tom, just let me look at it."
And
turns around, and then guess who's there? It's, what was his name? Simon.
Yeah, the father. Right?
Trying to murder her.
Yeah, and it's when she's reading that picture book that Jack gives her that explains everything. Her performance in that is great.
Yeah,
but then it doesn't really go from there at all.
Yeah,
and we know she can act. We've seen her in The Witch. We've seen 100%. her in. I've seen her in Emma. I don't know if you have.
But I haven't seen it, but we've seen her in Split and Glass as well.
Yeah, she can definitely act. So I'm not sure if like the proper direction was given to her, or if she was just done with the production at the point when she had to, in the scene where she gets attacked, and then the scene where she's talking to Jack's psychologist. It's just it doesn't hold any weight for her. It just seems like another day. Yeah, and it really just kind of cheapened the ending in a way. Not that the story wasn't great or anything, just the lack of emotion in her performance. Yeah, just kind of left me unsatisfied.
Her character her character didn't change from that traumatic event that happened.
Yeah.
And she was just that loving, embracing person to Jack, even after she saw 5 dead bodies.
Yeah. And I kind of wish, because there's this beautiful scene where before you find out that, Jack's family is all dead, that using flashlights and Morse code, Jack and the little kid, Sam, and Allie, who's Anya Taylor-Joy's character, they all talk using Morse code across the valley. And it's this beautiful scene where you kind of see this relationship budding. You can see that she's happy to be like an honorary member of the family and everything. And then when she finally, yes, she had already grieved for them, but you kind of grieve twice when a family member dies, at least in my experience. Yeah. You grieve when you find out the news, and then you grieve again when you see the body. And she didn't really have that second bout of grieving. And the first one, I felt like was cut too short, because it cut from her like bawling her eyes out to running. And I feel like if they held on something a little bit longer, just having her kind of go through it and seeing the change, and then committing to the change afterwards, it could have been a lot more impactful. Yeah. But it's. I'm
curious though how, kind of going back and thinking about it. This is now no longer on Anya Taylor-Joy, but what was Simon doing in that attic for like 6 months in the same house as Jack?
He was eating animals. Do you not remember them saying that?
Oh, was he? Oh, that's right. He was locked in that room with him.
Yeah,
Never
he
mind.
killed
I forgot
the poor
Tom.
raccoon.
I forgot Tom broke down that brick wall.
Yeah, Tom broke down the brick wall after Jack bricked him up. Jack, the entirety of Jack's arc is that he's too afraid to face reality and see that his family's actually dead, and therefore also either be killed by his father or kill his father. So he, I don't know if he like knocks him out and then walls.
It's pretty crazy to look back on that whole part of like that guy's locked in there.
Yeah,
because is it Billy that tries to go down there in the rope, but then you think about it and it's actually Jack who tried to go down in that room?
Yeah.
So at a certain point, he tried to face reality and then just got fucking shanked.
He tried to face reality, but with Billy's personality having taken over. So it's not quite the same thing.
And that's kind of it's the genius of it, because it makes you go back and think, but then you're like, oh my god.
And then the details of like Jack having the wounds that Billy got in that scenario. I just gotta say, poor raccoon.
Yeah, that man, he was struggling.
He was cute.
He was just a little bit skinnier.
He was a little cutie.
He's like, help! I'm just a trash panda.
I'm a chunky little trash panda. Please help me. And then fucking, honestly, I don't even care so much that he killed all the people, but like.
The raccoon, man.
Spare the raccoon for God's sake, please.
Yeah, I gotta say this movie was great.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. You know, even our criticism of Anya Taylor-Joy's character, it doesn't really take away from the film. It's just it could have been that much better if they just showed an arc of some kind, or showed her affected by what had happened.
Yeah, it just
after
goes
the fact,
from her seeing her obviously knowing about them being dead, and then going to see the dead bodies, but having no time to react to the dead bodies because Tom's shanked in the neck. And then next thing you know, she's trying to be murdered, and then next thing you know, oh, Jack, we need to help you. It's just there wasn't really emotion from the character after she found out about all that shit going on.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it didn't take away from the movie itself, but it definitely sucked that part.
Yeah, it's like she was kind of like a perfect companion to a fault, where she was always about everyone else's well-being and happiness, and it would have been nice to see like either her home life or something other than this creepy guy hitting on her all the time.
Yeah. Especially him stalking her at the beach with Jack. I was like, buddy.
Yeah, definitely. But that's really all I have to say about it. It's a great movie with obvious faults, but still worth the watch.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Same here.
He's just left the Marrowbone home. He goes onto the bridge, and then he goes down the tunnel, through the tunnel, and goes all the way up. Careful, Jack.
Sam has been to Mother's, right? He says he saw something in there.
You have no idea what you are getting into.
We have to tell Annie the truth.
Nothing, no one, ever will separate us.
So, I guess we should jump into the judgment.
Let's do it.
I mean, I really enjoyed this. I wouldn't say it's mind-blowing, but it's a solid movie, especially and it's a movie that I feel like I hadn't even heard of it until my friend Peter recommended it to me. And the fact that it flew under my radar kind of makes me want to show more people it. So I'm going to say yes, it is a shelf boy with its pants raised up high, saluting the flag of film.
Oh, God. Along the likes of Apostle and Handmaiden.
And Handmaiden.
Because it's a shelf boy. Yeah, it's going to be a shelf boy for me, too. It was definitely a genuinely good movie. Like, even if there weren't more horror aspects, it definitely gave the mask that it was going to be, but it was definitely thriller, and like the fact that it hid that mask so well was really cool.
I agree. Yeah.
And I definitely think it belongs, especially with all the good acting from everybody.
Definitely.
Definitely.
And even Anya Taylor-Joy wasn't bad. It's
Yeah,
just
it was
her
the
character
character.
felt underdeveloped.
Because we know she can act her ass off.
We can. She's great in things like The Witch and Apostle and Handmaiden.
Handmaiden.
I'm kidding. No, she's not in those. She's only in The Witch and other things. But so Marrowbone makes it onto the shelf as we are saluting it. Goodbye to the shelf, Marrowbone. I don't know what I'm going to do. Just ignore me. So that brings us to our plugs for this week. My plug is going to be slightly different this week. As I've said probably 10 times already in this podcast before, the NHL is back. They're doing their playoffs in August, which is weird, and they're all doing it all in a bubble in either Toronto or Edmonton, which is probably the best way to do it. And I fucking love hockey. So my plug for this week is the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs, which the Flyers are the number one seed in the East.
Flyers seem to be doing really well so far.
So far, yes. So far. I'm just waiting for it to all
keep it going.
collapse.
Let's give them our support and our love.
For my plug this week, I'm going to give a little "Let's go Flyers" chant, and
with your pants held high, and
with my pants held up high.
Okay.
But not high enough to cover my Flyers logo on my shirt.
You're damn right. Okay, well, there we got that. So we got the for me. I don't know what that sentence was transitioning, but for me, I wanted to kind of stick with the mood of the horror aspect. So I was like, you know what? I want to see Bill Skarsgård audition and first makeup test for Pennywise on YouTube.
That was going to be my plug last week, actually, and then I found the Jojo Rabbit one.
You know what? Funnily enough, I passed not behind the scenes, but like the bloopers of the Jojo Rabbit. I'm like, should I? No, I won't. I won't do that. But can I? Well, no, don't. He already, no, but will I? Yes. No, we won't. So this was really cool. We all know he was fantastic as Pennywise. He really held his own. As part
of Chapter 2.
Yes.
Because Chapter 2 was lackluster, in my opinion.
Yeah. Especially with all the kids turning adults in their stories. But yeah, he was definitely the best part of easily those movies. The kids definitely had a strong hand in the first, but he obviously stood his own against Tim Curry and stuff like that. So just seeing his audition and see him come into fruition with the character was actually really cool. I don't know when he exactly did the eye thing because he didn't do it in his audition, but
yeah, I think it was brought up on set.
Yeah. He just kind of randomly did it at a certain point.
Yeah, like the director was talking about it, and he was like, "Oh, I could just do that."
Yeah.
They're talking about doing it in CGI, and he was just like, "Yeah, I could just do that."
So I mean,
save you thousands of dollars.
Yeah, it was definitely really cool to see him do that. Really, you could see him like turning his face and everything and becoming a character as he was auditioning, which was really dope. So there's that. Bill Skarsgård audition and first makeup test for Pennywise on YouTube.
What we found with Bill was that his instincts were so perfect and so aligned with the way Andy saw Pennywise.
Is this your boat? It's a nice boat. Floats.
Even just to audition for this part was fun for me, because it was just like, do your interpretation of what you think the clown would be.
Well, I'm Bob Gray. Pennywise to my friends. What do they call you?
Georgie.
Now we aren't strangers, are we?
So those are our plugs for this week. Glenjamin Button, it is your turn to give us an assignment for our little boys and girls to listen to for next week's podcast.
Well,
what is that movie?
Sadly, I didn't do the research quite like I was supposed to. You have already actually seen this movie. Gasp a hula.
Burn it down.
Gasp
Burn it down.
a hula. But
Padcost. Podcast is over.
Padcost.
And Padcost is just beginning.
So I don't care. And we're going to go with it anyway. This is going to be on Hulu, and it's also free on Vudu if you actually care about that. If you don't have Hulu. So Vudu is free. So either way, you're going to see this movie, most likely. This movie is called Rabbit Hole with Nicole Kidman, Aaron Eckhart, and Miles Teller. Mm-hmm. The movie is about life for a happy couple is turned upside down after their young son dies in an accident.
She visits me sometimes in dreams and tells me it's okay. That she's with God.
God had to take her. He needed another angel.
He needed another angel.
Why didn't he just make one? Another angel. I mean, he's God after all. Why didn't he just make another angel? Hmm?
I forget that he's not here sometimes. Like maybe he's just hiding under the bed. He's gonna pop out like he used to do. He's trying to make things nice.
You can't. All right, I'm sorry. Things aren't nice anymore.
Feels like maybe I don't feel badly enough for you. Maybe I'm not feeling enough.
Something's gotta change. I can't do this like this anymore. It's too hard.
It's directed by John Cameron Mitchell, written by David Lindsay Hebert, about his own play, Rabbit Hole. Like I said, Nicole Kidman, Aaron Eckhart, Miles Teller. I'll go out of my way to see a movie with Miles Teller, and that's what we're doing right now.
Oh, he's from Downingtown, you know.
You're damn skiddly duped.
Downingtown represent.
But the perks of it, it's got Nicole Kidman, who I think either was nominated or won an Oscar for this. So I was
nominated. She didn't win.
Yeah, so I'm sitting here. I'm like, why not, dude? This was in 2010. I'm ready to see this movie, Mike. Are you? Oh, wait, again?
I've actually been meaning to rewatch it, so it kind of works out perfectly.
Listen, I'm not saying you're welcome, but I'm implying it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there we go.
Thank you. So Rabbit Hole on Hulu and or Vudu is our assignment for next week. Y'all can watch that. All I can say is that y'all better... Why am I turning southern? Yous guys better bring some tissues if you're criers, because it is not a happy movie.
And that's what I like to... well, no, I don't. I don't like to feel that, but I want to feel it.
Yeah.
No, wait, no, that...
It's going to be okay, Glenn.
I don't think so.
If you guys want to cheer up Glenn, you can check out our website, www.keystonefilmreview.com. Follow us on Instagram, Keystone_film_review, on Twitter, Keystone_film, Facebook, Keystone Film Review, and on Letterboxd, I'm Mike KFR.
And I am Glenn KFR.
And if
make me so happy if you did all that.
It would make him so happy he'd stop crying. I can tell you right now, he is an ugly crier.
Just ugly, period. I have to look in a mirror. Oh, wait, that's a bad idea.
No! Goodbye, everybody.